Hi, everybody. Before we get to another great interview, the Too Opinionated podcast could really use your help. And it's easy, it's free. IMDb, which is the entertainment database, imdb.com, named us a top 100 podcast. We came in at number 82. That's a big deal because there's 15 million podcasts and growing. So to be named to anybody's top 100 list, pretty big deal for us. And the way you can help is to go to imdb.com, look up the Too Opinionated podcast, and that's it. Just bringing our page up. That traffic really helps us out. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. All we ask is that you subscribe. It's also free, but that really helps us to attract these amazing guests that we keep bringing on the program. And that's it. 2 easy ways for you to support us, and we would really appreciate the help. Now let's get to that interview. Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Too Opinionated. I'm so excited today. I get to welcome back our good friend, singer, songwriter, actress, author, Zara Phillips. So welcome, Zara.
Hi. Thank you for having me back. That was
You do so
unexpected.
much.
Well, not all at the same time. It just sounds like I do a lot, but you don't do everything at the same
Well, that's
time.
right.
So,
That's right. That's
so
right. You
you know,
you've got the ability to do multiple things. You just choose which one you want to do at what time.
yeah.
So
I
Zara, we
suppose so.
talked.
Yeah,
It's been
yeah,
a couple of months, I think, since
yes,
we
yeah.
chatted, but not too long ago. But
Mm.
I think when we chatted before, somebody's daughter was getting ready to come out. Now it's out there, so it's I think right. You can watch it
Yes.
anywhere now.
Well, now it's on Amazon Prime,
Yeah, yeah,
USA, and so yeah, so that's really good. Yeah,
yeah.
and
That's
UK. And hopefully it will get on, other countries too, but it's just slowly finding its way out there.
I know. It's pretty great because it's such a terrific film. But let's back up a little bit for those that didn't catch our first interview. And I saw you still had it up on your website, so I appreciate that.
Uh,
But for those that didn't see our first one, describe what somebody's daughter is about, and give us a little background on why you made this film.
okay. So basically, I'm adopted, and I've
Yeah,
done a lot of work around the lifelong impact of being adopted. So I talk about all the things that people don't necessarily understand. And I wrote a book. I've written a few things on the topic, but I wrote a book called Somebody's Daughter about 6 years ago, which was about finding my birth father,
yeah,
and which would have felt like an impossible how I found him, and my birth mother, and then my birth father. And then I wrote a one-woman show because the story sort of changed, which often happens for adoptees. We think we found everything, and then, life, all relatives show up and things. So I didn't want to do another book. And I wanted to write it in a funnier way because,
yeah.
it's kind of tricky. People don't really want to hear from adoptees. If it's all doom and gloom, they're just not interested.
Well, yeah, they don't want to
So,
be
but
made to
funny
feel
enough,
bad because normally we all look at adoption as a good thing, but we're looking at it from the parent side, the
right.
adopted
Yeah,
parent
never,
side.
never from right. And society, there's many myths around adoption. Um, so I think probably where I was at too, I was more able to be funnier because it's so ludicrous. Like the whole story is crazy, and all my parents are, they were just such characters. So I had the material, it was there. And I had the story because it was a story in a way that you'd think, well, that can't be true, So really, I didn't have to do much. It was just given to me. So so I did a one woman show and I used my music. Well, that's what I've done in the past too, is use my music specifically for this work. And I love doing live performance, and I think that's because I've been in so many bands and I've done talks. So I really enjoy the live experience. And then after we did the one woman show, I was like, oh my goodness, this is going to be really hard to keep doing because it's a lot of work and you
Yeah,
need people to put it on and where, so I did it a few times and I really enjoyed it. But, the quickest way these days is film,
that's right.
for people to see something. So not everybody's going to go to the theatre. So my director friend in England, he said, we're going to, I'll film it. And I said, just do it as a one woman show. And he was like, no, we're going to bring in all the characters that you talk about. Because what I had done in the one woman show is I had voiceovers and I played
Yeah.
both my mothers. So in the film, we decided to bring in all the actors to play my mothers. I was just myself going back into the 80s, and now. And it worked. I was trusted him too. I was very lucky. We had some really good actors that, work a lot in England and they all wanted to join in. So that was wonderful. And it was a lot of fun, small budget, and it's been really well received.
Yeah, I love that. The movie is so so terrific. It's heartwarming. You're funny in it. The movie's funny. It there's a lot of moments in it that are pretty heartwarming, but also funny. I loved your adoptive mom's stuff, and she would she's going through all the emotions. She feels it because it's hard on the adopted parent too, because you want to be supportive of your child
Yeah,
finding their birth parents, but that's also difficult because you've been their parent. Yeah.
right. And well, it's very hard for adoptive parents. And, a lot of the time when I do talks with adopted parents, I say to them, look, the not knowing leads to feeling really disconnected for me from my adopted family. I was also raised in the closed adoption era where you had no name, no information, which they're realizing now is sort of barbaric, and a lot of laws are, they're beginning to change.
It
They
needs
realize
to change. I mean, we go to such lengths to protect everybody's rights, but the baby's got rights too. A
and
person,
where the
you should have the right to know who your parents were.
So basically, what it was all done for the adopted parents. You see, it wasn't done for us. So,
That's right.
old law, things are changing. But I say to adopted parents, once I found, and I did actually find my birth mother in my 20s and my birth father not till I was in my 50s, but I then could feel more connected to my adopted family. So I always assure the adopted parents, I say, look, no one can replace you.
That's
You
right.
are our mother and father. You're the ones that we have the memories and the years and everything. But for us to move forward in our lives, we have to know. And, I know adopted parents that have been really sort of brave about it. They've been honest. I'm scared my child's not going to love me anymore.
Yeah.
And, as I say to them, I have three kids. I love all my kids. I have two
Yeah.
mothers. I could love both mothers and both fathers. There's no, it's infinite. You don't, but that's the fear. Everybody's afraid of being rejected.
Well, that's right. I mean, it's similar in some respects to divorced families that remarry, and you get combined families, because then you might get a
Mm,
second mom or a second dad, or some new brothers
right.
and sisters stuff. So you don't have the necessarily the separation and all that, but you still got that where you have to adapt to having multiple parents, and most of those
Yeah.
kids do okay. They do okay. You can love a step parent. You can love an adoptive parent. You can love a birth parent, all at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, this
Right.
I was curious,
Absolutely.
Zara,
You really
because
can. And it's
go ahead. I think we just had a
sorry,
line there. So yeah, go ahead.
okay. Sorry, say that again.
Yeah,
You were curious.
I think we just had a little bit of a lag there, you know. But I think the that argument of, you know, it may be I may lose my adopted child's love because the birth parents coming back in their lives. That's not the case. You know, a child, or a lot of times it's an adult by the time they find their birth parents. They can love more than one person or two people or whatever.
And also,
We as a people limit ourselves.
right, absolutely. But, you know, unless there's abuse in the adopted family, where adoptees need to get away from the adopted parents, you know, there's also this sort of myth that children are safer in adopted families than their birth families. And unfortunately, that's a myth. A lot of the times, birth mothers are giving babies up due to lack of funds.
Right.
They're teenagers,
Yeah,
their
it's not a
families are
love issue. It's a I
not,
can't take care of you issue.
or they don't get the support. You
Yeah.
know, that's really what it is. And the shame if they're unmarried, like in my case, you know, in the 60s, my birth mother wasn't married. It was the shame. But you know, not all adopted parents too. I mean, many, of course, are loving, like any biological parent.
Yeah.
You know, some parents are, and adoptees can be quite vulnerable to that as well,
Yeah.
abuse within the adopted family. So, you know, the trouble is there's such a Disney myth around adoption. Oh, it's a little orphan and everybody's saved, but it's actually not true. You know, it's way more complicated than that.
Well, yeah, I'm sure there are cases that's true, but it's not going to be every case. You know, sometimes the adopted family, that might be the better situation. Sometimes it's the worst.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a mixed bag.
Well, you
It is.
last time we talked, you had me thinking a little differently. You know, because
Mm,
normally, you know, you think about adoption as a positive, and I think it is in a lot of cases. But you know, you've also got a system that is set up to supply babies to people that need babies. So, you know, at some point it becomes a kind of a
yes.
money making venture. Once it gets to that point, you're not necessarily doing what's best for the mother giving up the child or the child. You know, it may be something
Uh,
where, you know, is it a situation where the child could have stayed with the mother or the parents if they had just a little bit of support, and we didn't give the support, and they had to give the child up. That seems like a failure of the system to me now, but I hadn't really thought of that before.
yeah. And you know, some adoptees really feel that there does not need to be adoption, which will shock people because they'll be like, of course there has to be adoption. There can be something called guardianship.
Yes.
And also within the family, adopting within the family, a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle,
Right.
they find that children adopted, they call that kinship adoption.
Yeah.
And that's better for the child because their names aren't severed. We lose everything. We lose our identity. We don't know our nationality. We don't know
Right.
our name. We don't know our medical history.
That's an
You
important one
know,
right
we
there.
don't. Absolutely. So we don't know anything. So for those of us from my generation, I suppose as well, we have a kind of a different, you know, view. Like the older I get, the more I'm like, how could they do that to us? You know, and what it has been like living, how many years, you know, I've had to spend, and I know other adoptees just figuring this out, going through the loss, waking up to that we've been lied to, and you know, because it is more of an industry and it wasn't really about protecting
Right.
us. You know, it takes a long time. As anybody knows that goes through anything in life, stuff takes years to figure out.
It does.
And it's layered, you know, adoption is, you know, they say adoption is the only trauma in the world where the victim is supposed to feel grateful.
Yeah, that
So,
kind of hurts my heart when you say it, but I never thought of it that way. But though the kids are the victims in the situation, it may work out well for them. It may work out
yeah.
better in a lot of cases, but it's not guaranteed. And we just all just kind of assume that they're going to be better off.
Well, also, but it's this thing that we're expected to feel grateful,
Yeah,
whereas if a child's lost a parent, like if I said to you, my mother died when I was 3,
yeah,
you'd probably go, "Oh my God, that's so sad.
I
I'm so
would.
sorry you lost your mother at 3, right?"
Yeah,
But if I say to you, I was adopted, people will say, "Oh, you must feel so grateful." But I've lost my mother
yeah,
the same way the little child at 3 lost their mother to death. I've lost a mother, and the hardest part was I didn't know if she was dead or alive.
right.
So there's what they call disenfranchised grief, because there's nowhere really to put it. All we know is we're missing, but we're supposed to feel grateful. So, a lot of young adoptees can really struggle because
Yeah,
they're not really allowed to have those feelings. So that's the stuff I talk about. It's all the stuff that people are like, "Oh, well, we don't know that, and we don't really want to
that's
know
right.
about that. We just want to know all the happy stuff."
Right, right. And there
So,
is some
so
happy.
that's why in the film, coming back to the film, I think the way I was, I've just, yes, yeah, there is some happy, but also I've shown you the story rather than put it in your face.
Yes,
That's what I was trying to do. Like, here's my story. Nobody can argue, "Oh, well, this happened to her and this happened to her, and this is how she found this parent," and no one can argue about that. Um, And I think that's a better way of telling something that's so heavy.
yeah, I agree. I agree. I thought you did such a terrific
Yeah.
job of it because you watch and you come away feeling hopeful, but you also have a better understanding of what adopted children go through. It definitely opened my eyes,
Mm.
along with talking with you last time, uh, to something that I'd never really thought about, which I think so, a lot of us have that failing. It's not that we don't care, we just never thought about it. Uh, but now that
Well, why would you?
now that
If
you've
it's
brought
not
that to our
affecting
attention,
you.
you know, go ahead, Zara.
Yeah. I mean, and unless it's affected you in your
That's right.
life, why no one's, it's like anything, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
There's things that haven't affected me, and then I'll be like, "Oh my goodness, I never thought about that."
Right.
Um, But adoptees, I mean, we're always in every movie, the Disney movies, it's always, when you think about how many stories are about children that don't know their parents and they become heroes or they're on an adventure, like all the Disney stuff, we're depicted as, the badly behaved, the
Right.
damaged one.
Yeah.
That can be really hard too. Like, let's have the adoptee. Like I was saying to a friend, I read again in the newspaper recently, adopted son, attacks adopted mother,
Yeah.
and you would never see, or tries to kill adopted mother, whatever it was, you would never see biological child tries to kill biological. They always put the child or the adult is adopted, almost like I feel sometimes as a justification. Oh, well, it's because they're adopted.
Right. Right.
But actually, yes, that's true, and I mean, there's a lot of attachment issues that adoptees can have with their parents, and there can be violence around that, and the parents don't know how to control. Some adopted parents believe, "I'm just going to love my child, everything's going to be fine."
That's right.
And then these have a lot of anger and a very high addiction rate. And I've heard adopted parents just despair, like, "We don't know what to do."
Yeah.
So it's very complicated. It's layered. It's
It's very
layered.
layered. Yeah. It really is.
Yeah.
It's a very complicated subject. And I know I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I was curious though, did you know, when you first started this journey that this would end up kind of being your life passion project? Because you've basically been working on this
No,
most of your life.
I know. Well, since yeah, for a good chunk of years. Yeah, since good, yeah, gosh, I can't even think how many years right now. But no, I didn't mean to. I mean, it's funny, I was just going to be in a band, just wanted to be in a band. But I think as I've healed and as I got into the community myself, and you start going, oh my goodness, I'm not alone. And I do have an ability to write and to talk about this experience. And I began to realize like how needed it was. And then I got asked, really, what happened was somebody's like, oh, can you come and talk to these adopted parents and
Yeah.
help these kids, adoptee teens that are struggling, and it just sort of evolves. And then I think to work through my own stuff, I'd write about it.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel very lucky that I have that because it really helps just purge. And yeah, I know I never mentioned that. I don't know what, it's like, okay, I think I'm done. All the time I'm like, okay, I've done songs, I've written
This is
books, I've
it.
done plays. That's it. That's it. Done film. There's nothing else to say about being adopted.
But you keep saying new things, and it's all like important information.
Well, yeah, I suppose as I get older and what, things that are happening with adoptees our age of,
Yeah.
like in England, they want to give birth mothers an apology, the government, we're trying to get an apology. Like in Australia, they gave the birth mothers an apology because we're from what is called the forced adoption era. It was the same in America as it is in England and in Canada, where these birth mothers were shamed for being pregnant as
Yeah.
teenagers or young women just because they weren't married. That was it. And they were put in hiding, they were treated like second-class citizens. They've really had a hard time. So there's been a lot of activity about this and trying to because we're getting older, like our birth mothers are
Right.
now head, and these women were really, it really messed up their lives. Some of these women, they've struggled their whole lives, of how they were treated, put in hiding
Yeah, that's awful.
and not. No, it's awful. It's like in Ireland, about probably more about the women in Ireland that were hidden away in these babies and these horrible homes. And similar stuff happened in America and in England.
Yeah, yeah, I know it did. I because a lot of our stuff we patterned after England and maybe vice versa too a little bit, and none of it was good. Yeah, we used to like when I was growing up. If there was a
No.
TV show, every once in a while they'd send a character off because she got pregnant. That'd be a storyline on the show, and they'd have to send her off to live with a family or something for a season, and then the next season they'd be back. And that type of
Yeah.
thing, I'm
Without
sure.
the baby or something. Yeah.
Yeah, no baby. Yeah, and that thing was pretty prevalent.
Right.
I
And it's
know
like,
here in
what
the States.
happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What,
Oh no,
what,
they use the story a lot, that story.
yeah, they really do. They really do. I was going to
Can you
ask
hear
you,
me okay?
Zara, what now that the film's out there and it's getting watched, what kind of feedback are you getting back?
Really good. Yeah, I've had some really lovely responses of just people within the community just saying how much they, connected with it and had this shared similar experiences. But people that know nothing about it at all, um, that have still found ways of saying, like you were saying earlier, one woman came up to me, oh, I never knew my father. I didn't meet him until I was older. She wasn't adopted. or oh, my stepfather raised me and then my biological father came back in my life, things like that. So it
Yeah.
is and I talk about addiction and recovery, long-term recovery. So anybody that's sort of struggled with that, that's what I wanted. I wanted it to reach more of a bigger audience than just
Yeah.
adoptees, more like a human story, like we all, yeah. So definitely, I mean, there's really not been anything negative unless people are saying it behind my back.
Right. I'm sure they're
Nothing written, nothing written on social media, nothing bad. Like you see how people are on social media these days. I haven't had any of that. So I'm like, okay, well, that's good.
That's a good sign.
Because,
And-
people really can be cruel.
oh, they can be awful. They can be awful.
Yeah.
Have you gotten through this whole process and getting it all out there? Has that given you some closure with your situation?
I feel really proud of it.
Yeah.
Yes. And I feel very much like, and I ended up on the BBC News in January because they were talking about this apology that people are asking for that
Yeah.
the UK government doesn't want to give, but Ireland gave it, Scotland gave it, and it's like, come on, England. And I was on the BBC News and I did an interview and they showed a bit of the film. And I was on the BBC News all day, and we made the 6 o'clock news, which is a big deal because it
Yeah.
reaches a lot of people. And it was a very strange feeling, I have to say, almost like I wanted to hide. And because it was like, this is something I had to stay quiet about a lot of my life.
Right.
Don't tell people you're adopted. Not everybody needs to know. Because my mother couldn't, it was hard for her. And
Sure.
as I got older, we would talk more about it. But it was a very strange feeling to think this that caused me a lot of grief and that I struggled with a lot. Who could have dreamed I'd suddenly be on like national TV and doing a film, exposing myself. But yet I do know that the only way to help other people is you have to sort of be honest. You do.
That's right.
That's what helps me. Other people being honest has helped me. Um, Being vulnerable to whatever
Yes.
has changed my life. So yeah, I feel good.
Well, that's great
Um,
because it. I kind of figured you had,
my ins
and regardless, even if you still didn't feel like you had that closure, what you're doing has helped so many people and will continue to do so. But I'm glad to hear that it's cathartic. It's been helping you some too, because I know the story with your dad is it's heartwarming, but it's a little tragic too because you lost him not long after you found him, and that's difficult. Thank goodness you found him before he was
yeah,
gone, but it was still such a short period of time. I know that was difficult for you.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
it's
thought
that's such a great story because you spent such a long time looking for him and he was actually living fairly close to you.
it's crazy.
I
An
know.
hour away.
I know.
An
I have it's a hard one to wrap my head around, but I think it just adds so much to this story. He's right there, but you just didn't know.
He's right there. Yeah. And I think that this is what happy. See, this is what I feel with adoption is you think you can separate
Yeah.
families, but there's a bigger picture going on. Biology tethers you in some way. And close, adoptees working in the same building, something to be said. And that's more the mystical, spiritual side of life. We think we're in control when actually, there's way more going on. Um, and yeah, but I'm going to Italy later this year. We're actually doing a show in Rome, and my birth father's sister and my cousins, who I got to meet a couple of years ago, I will see them again,
Oh,
and
that's
they're going to
great.
come. And I'm so excited. Yeah, I'm
Well,
thrilled.
and that's kind of the happy ending to the story. Yes, you lost
Yeah,
your dad not long after you found him, but you gained like all this other family.
so much. There's so many. It's ridiculous. And the Italians, they don't care. They're just like, they don't quite understand how I found them. You know, it took a long time for me to
Yeah,
explain. I
right.
was adopted. I went on Ancestry DNA. What are you talking about? But they don't care. As I'm family, and that's it.
I love
You know,
that.
there's no shame. There's
Yeah.
there's none of, which has happened with my birth father's wife who cut us out when he died because she couldn't cope with the fact he'd had all these kids.
Yeah.
Um, and it's so life is so short, it's so short. There should be no shame anymore. It doesn't really matter how we got here.
That's
For
right.
some reason I was born and here I am. And it's sad that people have that old mentality of
Yes.
thinking, of that's what we come up against, and that's the struggle. But maybe, as the years go and the world's changing so much, people will be more open and more receptive, hopefully. Because all I care about is the little adoptees and the kids that are not going to know fathers, sperm donors. I mean, there's a whole other. They're all showing up now at our adoption community, and they've actually started their own donor conceived.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Yeah,
this is,
that
and
doesn't surprise me.
no, and we it was interesting to watch that community grow because they would come to us to begin with because they yeah, and we'd all identify with each other. So yeah, so for me, it's all about openness, giving a human being what they need.
I love that, and good for you, Zara, for spending so much time on it. Because you could have just done all this in quiet, which is what a lot of people do, and not kind of put it out there. And it may have helped you, but you wouldn't be helping everybody else. And I think this what you've done, starting out with the book and the play and now the movie, is you've really brought this to the forefront and you've started that conversation that we need to be having so that we can fix some of this for kids going forward.
And I'm sort of compelled to do it. Like each time I'm like, oh, I have a break. And then someone's like, can you come and talk to, the mental health professional? Here I go again.
Well, I'm
I
like that
feel
with the
like
podcast.
sometimes,
If somebody asks, I'm like, yeah, come on. But yeah, it does tie you up.
yeah. Or you feel sometimes I'm just saying the same thing over, but then you get the little nugget of someone saying, oh my goodness, that
Yeah.
helped.
Yeah, it may have been
That
to
one,
them.
yeah. So, and then it makes me, propels me, okay, this is why I'm doing it. This is why I'm doing it.
I love that. I love it. Is there a version left that you haven't done yet?
Yeah.
I guess you could turn
I've
it
got
into a TV show.
Well, you could. You actually really could. If
Yeah.
somebody picked it up, if anybody's out there, um, definitely could be a TV show. There definitely could be series. It could be really expanded. I mean, my film's under an hour, but I
Yeah.
crammed a lot in there. Oh
Oh,
no,
you
there,
could.
it could.
Yeah,
There's
I
so much.
would watch that. I mean, it'd be no different than the dating shows that you watch. I would watch it if you followed someone's journey to finding their birth parents and then kind of see how it goes in the aftermath. I'd watch that show.
Making this more like a comedy of, yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? You know what? That would be great. I would be thrilled if that happened.
Yeah. Well, and you're a talented actress. I'd love to see you on a show like that.
Yes. Well, it was weird playing myself young because at first I was being on stage, you like you can do it, and then in the film I was like, can I really play myself young? But really, no one else could have done that
That's right.
because in this situation because that's what made it sort of funny as well. Like the audience just goes with it. They know it's me. Obviously I'm old now, um, but it worked.
It really
Um,
did. It's
yeah,
so
it's
good,
really
and
nice.
it's surprisingly funny. Like you're watching it, there's moments you just crack up.
Yeah.
And what's in the little trailer at the very end? He says, "What was it? Time for donuts or something like that."
And we'd meet at Dunkin' Donuts.
Oh,
My sister met him there too. That was all my sister that's adopted. She met him there too. And every time, we go past Dunkin' Donuts, we'll send each other photos sometimes of Dunkin'
oh,
Donuts, me and my sister that, I met through him. Yeah. And we remember meeting him there together. Yeah, Dunkin' Donuts will always be a special place for me.
I love that.
Even though I
I
can't eat
love
the
that.
donuts because it literally gives me a sugar hangover, but hey.
Well, Zara, thank you for taking a little bit of time and give us an update on somebody's daughter. It's on Amazon now. Everybody should be watching it. It's you'll learn a little bit. It's heartwarming. It's funny. And if you're in that situation where you've been adopted or you've had to give up a child for adoption, I think it could be cathartic to watch it.
And there's lots of support for anybody out there that is struggling. There
Yeah.
really is. You can go on my website, uh, zaraphillips.net, and there's groups. There's so much more available for people now to get the support. And that's what I always recommend. Don't be running off searching for birth parents or finding children without really getting the support first, because it's a very painful journey. It's wonderful, but it can be very complicated. So having the support really helps.
Yeah, of course, of course. Are you touring through the summer?
Yeah, we're starting actually on Saturday. Yeah, we're going to Paris. I'm so excited. And because
Awesome.
Richard, my husband, he works a lot in America. We do a lot of shows in America,
Yeah.
but we're doing a whole European thing. So I'm very excited.
I know
I
you
will
got to
be,
keep me up to date when you come to America and are doing stuff because
yeah,
we'll come out. We'll try to catch you.
that would be great. Where are you again?
I'm in West Virginia, so
Oh, that,
the New York's doable for me. Now, I can get to
right.
New York.
We just missed you. We did a band show last year. We went all the way through.
Did you
So
really?
you missed.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Well, you
we
got to
did.
let me know if you come back. I'll find you. Yeah,
That would be
yeah. Zara, before I let you go over your website and your social media.
okay. So my website is zaraphillips.net,
Yeah,
and I'm on Instagram. I can't remember what I am, like Zara Phillips or something,
it
and
comes right up.
Facebook. You'll find me.
Yeah, it does. It comes right up, and you're really good with your social media. I think you do a good job keeping up to date with it.
Oh, I try. But I'm not the Queen's granddaughter because she is called Zara Phillips. So if you get horses, because she is an equestrian woman,
Oh,
just know that that is not me, because I
I
have
did
never
see
really.
that one come up.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I knew because I reckon I was like, well, that's not her.
Sometimes I get emails for her. Isn't
Oh,
that
that's
hilarious?
funny.
Yeah, I get so many emails, and now I found her personal assistant, and I'm like, here's another email, and I
You
forward
just
it.
forward them on.
I'm just like, I write back sometimes to the people, like, I'm really sorry, I'm not the Queen's granddaughter.
That's hilarious.
It's hilarious. Somehow my emails got on, something saying that I am. It's like- And the things they ask, you get a real insight into the things that the royals get asked to
Oh, I
do.
bet.
Can you come and open this and open this old man's center, and these colonel, and it's like all kinds of bizarre stuff. Can you ride your
Stuff
horse
that
through?
most of us never have to deal with.
No, no, she, yeah, come to the old people's home, and the old soldiers, and can you bring your horse? And it's like, I don't have a horse.
Sure.
I cannot ride a horse. You would
You
not
should
want to
just
see.
show up to a few of them and be like,
That's what my
yeah,
friend said.
yeah. I was like, I thought you wanted me.
Yeah, I am Zara Phillips. I know I'm like much older than her. My hair's a different color, but hey.
Well,
Be
Zara, I
hilarious.
hope you can come back again at some point and give us a
Yes,
further
I'd love
update.
to.
But it's always a pleasure. I'm so happy that we've got to talk a couple of times. And somebody's daughter is terrific. You should be really proud of that.
Well, I really appreciate you supporting the work that I do.
Of
Really means a
course.
lot.
Yeah, yeah. No, it's such a worthwhile endeavor. And I'm such a fan of your music. So, yeah, win-win. All right, Zara, hold on one second.
Thank
I'm a big fan of Zara's. I think what she's doing on the adoption side is fantastic. It's something that's been needed. You know, I've had friends who have adopted. It can be just a wonderful thing for everybody. But even in the best situations, it's difficult. There's a lot of layers to it, and there's a lot of emotion involved. So I think what she's doing to try to better protect the child or the children, very commendable. So please do yourself a favor, do Zara a favor, check out Somebody's Daughter. It's on Amazon now, and it is worth your time. It's fun. It's surprisingly funny. It's Zara, really good actress. She does such a good job. You can also find the book while you're on Amazon. Really good read, so definitely check that out. If you're a fan of Zara's music, we talk a lot more about the music side of things on our first interview, so make sure you go back and check that out. She's a fantastic singer. She's married to Richard Thompson, who's a terrific musician himself, and they're touring together. I love that. That's terrific. But if you're a fan of her music, please go check out our first interview, because we do talk a lot about that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in again with us this week. If you enjoyed this one, I've got good news for you. There's 952 and counting other episodes that you can check out. Our website's meistercon.com. You know, you can find all of those episodes, audio and video versions. It also lets you know if we're doing anything in studio, like watching Somebody's Daughter, if we're going on location, if we're covering a convention, anything we have going on, be on the website, meistercon.com. So please check us out there. Our YouTube channel is MeisterCon Pod. Please subscribe. It's free. We don't ask you for any money, but those subscriptions really help us to keep bringing in these terrific guests. We should hit episode 1000 this summer, so please keep coming back. Thank you guys so much. Till next time. Bye, everybody.